Welcome to the news in details now. It has been 8 days of a total COVID-19 lockdown for Kigali City and 8 districts in the provinces. And the original 10-day lockdown has now been extended for another 5 days starting on Tuesday. Now, people have been noting that the extension is not surprising because of the prevalence of the virus.
Between the final week of June and the 2nd of July this year, Rwanda saw between 700 and more than 900 new COVID-19 infections daily. The 23rd of June saw 964 infections with 6,129 active cases at the time, 12 critical, and the death toll from the virus was at 397 countrywide. 1,573,227 tests had been taken, and Kigali had the most fresh infections at 326. By the 13th of July, the country had a total of 49,808 infections since the virus was first detected in March 2020. 14,643 still active and 306 of them in Kigali. 73 were in critical condition and 16 had died that day. The next day, 934 new infections were found and the infection rate climbed to 17.5%. And so the cabinet sat to assess the situation and decided to introduce new measures to fight the spread of the virus, including that Kigali City and 8 districts in the provinces go into a total lockdown for the next 10 days. This was a sort of wake-up call for the general population as to the seriousness of the situation. Honestly, the lockdown has produced good results, and the new infections we are seeing are those in their homes where they can be cared for, encouraged to engage in things like physical exercise in their compounds when they can, and not visit other people while protecting their own family members. Many people have been tested and we are now turning our efforts to caring for those who have been found to be infected, urging them to remain in their homes. We are also working hard on sensitization efforts starting at the cell level, identifying every household with infected people, with the goal being to prevent the virus from spreading. The areas under total lockdown also underwent a mass testing exercise that continued until towards the end of last week. Day 1 saw 1,997 new infections, 1,391 of them in Kigali, and 50,880 tests were taken countrywide. 15,725 cases were still active and people vaccinated numbered 406,004. Another 15,000 have since taken the jab. The 18th of July saw 2,773 new infections, 2,225 in Kigali, out of the 73,608 tests that were taken. By the next day, fresh infections in Kigali had fallen to 140, fewer than in Musanze district, which had 152 despite being under total lockdown itself. Across the country, 930 new infections were recorded out of the 8,664 tests taken, and 17 fatalities were registered. 89 people were critically ill, with 16,523 active cases and a total of 58,235 infections in Rwanda since March last year when COVID-19 was first detected within the country's borders. 1,895,926 tests had been taken as of that date of the 19th of July 2021. With the exception of the middle of last week when infection rates spiked at 1,309, all other days from the 19th saw around 900 new infections countrywide, with Kigali accounting for less than 200. An extension of the total lockdown for another 5 days starting Tuesday has not surprised many. It has helped to drastically reduce the movement of people and the sort of chaos that was helping the virus to spread, so certainly it has yielded results. The infection rates are declining without all that disorderliness. Infection rates are falling, meaning if the preventive measures are truly respected as the government urges us to do, we can beat this pandemic. The total lockdown is hard, but it is better than people getting infected en masse and dying. I would rather they extend it for another 10 days if it can save my life. This last week has seen a total of more than 2 million COVID-19 tests taken in Rwanda since the virus first emerged, and 90 of the 727 people it has killed died during that week, a total of 330 fatalities since the 23rd of June.
People living in districts under the total lockdown say preventive measures are generally being respected as they fight the defeat the COVID-19 pandemic, as they say, will continue to do so until they succeed. Take a look.
People in Kamonyi, Rwamagana, Nyagatare, Rubavu and other places under total lockdown say they have no illusions about the seriousness of the COVID-19 pandemic and that generally local residents have been respecting the measures in place, although of course there are always exceptions. We are following the guidelines requiring that people use a hand sanitizer before they can be served. We are respecting the hours they gave us, closing up by 5 p.m. and getting home by 6. We cannot claim that the measures are being respected at a rate of 100% because some people just come here apparently just wandering around for no reason, and we have to urge them to return to their homes. Certainly the sensitization efforts must continue so that they may understand the gravity of the situation and we can continue fighting this pandemic. Local leaders have also been actively urging the residents in their home areas to continue protecting themselves and each other. You should come to the market while observing all of the preventive measures, wearing a mask, having washed your hands and respecting social distancing. You must also do your shopping quickly and return home immediately, lest you contract the virus and then start spreading it around. As for things like agricultural activities that are allowed to continue, people seem to be doing them well, with farmers staying away from each other, which should be commended. However, some people are still being seen loitering around on market day, not intending to buy anything, claiming that they're just stretching their legs. Such behavior is not allowed and people should only leave the house to get what they need and go straight back if we are to continue protecting ourselves. On the 17th of this month of July, Kigali City and the districts of Kamonyi, Rwamagana, Nyagatare, Rubavu, Musanze, Burera, Gicumbi and Rutsiro went into a 10-day total lockdown, and it has now been extended for another 5 days effective the 27th.
Now, the Rwanda National Police says it is arresting those who are disobeying the COVID-19 preventive guidelines, including those who travel without authorization, as well as those who ask for it and use it for other reasons, and those joining gatherings for things like worship, yet it's prohibited. Now, they are warning people of the punishments for such actions. As the city of Kigali and 8 more districts are still under total lockdown, security forces are arresting those that disobey the COVID-19 preventive guidelines. In Nyagatare district on Saturday, July 24th, 19 people who had been worshipping in a tent for a year and a half were arrested. Of these, 15 are from Goma district, 2 from Bugesera, 1 from Gasabo and another from Muhanga. They say they are not concerned with COVID-19 preventive guidelines. I came all the way from Goma district to here because God called me to, and I'm here to do His work. I don't see any reason why I should wear a face mask or do anything at all to avoid the virus, because the arrival of pandemics is written in the Bible. It is a sign of the apocalypse. God had given me an escape from the virus, but you've arrested me. The arrests were as a result of information provided by David Bayingana, the owner of the land on which they had set up a tent where they worshipped. The Nyagatare district administration say the detainees will first be educated and then return to their families. There are also arrests of those who use passage authorities for other reasons different from what they demanded it for. Among those arrested was a man who was caught taking his house worker that was infected with COVID-19 virus as he put her in a car boot, transporting her back to her home in the southern province from We contacted the village head. We also contacted a health counselor, as they also contacted the RBC members, and they said a person that is not willing to isolate herself, yet she is infected, could spread it around. They also told me to go home and wait for them to contact me. I regret what I did, because if only I had listened and acquired more advice on how to go about it, I wouldn't be in this situation. The Rwanda National Police spokesperson, CP John Bosco Kabera, says the police will continue arresting those that disobey the COVID-19 preventive measures. The police will continue arresting them, and we are currently arresting others, and we shall not stop monitoring. People should abide by the preventive guidelines for their own good, so that it doesn't get to a point where the police arrests them. As for the case of a man that was caught taking his house worker who was infected with COVID-19 virus, CP John Bosco Kabera says an investigation is underway on what caused him to take such a decision, yet there are procedures established by the health authorities. Everyone cannot be taking such matters in their own hands. We will have to go in depth of what really happened. But in the meantime, we shall also carry out a thorough investigation to question all the people he says gave him a go-ahead. Health authorities are urging citizens to comply with COVID-19 preventive guidelines, including avoiding unnecessary trips, avoiding gatherings, practicing social distancing, washing their hands frequently, and wearing a face mask properly. While the Ministry of Environment has urged people to properly take good care of plants, animals, and other elements of the environment because they are critical to the welfare of human beings and the development of the country. Now, people say, however, that they kill some animals because they are afraid of them.
People living close to forests point out that not all animals in them are harmless, which is why their first thought when they encounter them is either to kill them or run for their lives. There are many monkeys in this forest and we have no problem with them, but there are other animals we stay clear of, such as leopards. We love nature in general, but can you tolerate something like a snake? It is literally the devil incarnate. You must kill such a thing whenever you encounter it because it is evil. Every time I am down in Bitjogo, it is always hot. Not like here because of the breeze, and I enjoy seeing things like wild rabbits hopping around. As for a snake, however, I would be lying to you that I would not kill it on sight because you cannot coexist with something like that. But not just things people generally consider to be evil are endangered by their activities, and the Musambi village is testament to that fact, set up as a conservation project to save the rapidly disappearing crane in Kigali. People are generally afraid of animals for one reason or another, afraid they may help spread disease. However, we should not be afraid of animals more than the impact our activities have on them and the fact that they bring us in close proximity to them, increasing the danger of us harming them and vice versa. By setting up protected habitats for them, we not only protect them, but ourselves as well. Like we often say here in Rwanda, conservation is life. Kigali city authorities note that as the city continues to develop, the protection of the environment and all in it has continued to be a priority. We must use as little land as possible as we are developing, looking to high-rise apartment blocks as a way of doing this. That way we will have more space for recreation and the sort of parks you mentioned. By following the master plan, things like marshlands will be protected and they are home to much of the wildlife. The Ministry of Environment has urged people to properly care for plants, animals, and other elements of the environment because they are critical to the welfare of human beings and the development of the country. If you were to come across a snake, a bird of prey, or any other wild big cat, your first thought should not be to kill it. We have a number you can call so that people with specialized skills can come and deal with the situation. Even such animals are important to the environment, and the country recognizes the importance of environmental conservation despite a push for urbanization. Green areas will be left even in the middle of urban areas, meant for such life forms, and in all other areas as well. We should all learn to live in harmony with nature. With the revised master plan, only 45% of the entire area Kigali City covers will be allocated for housing development, with the remaining 55% left for agricultural activities, the conservation of forests, fighting soil erosion along steep hillsides, and the protection of the city's wetlands.
Well, there you have it. On behalf of the entire news production team, thank you for staying with us. I'm Jane Mutoni. Have a great week ahead.